Hey guys, today I want to talk about something that doesn't necessarily really make sense, but that I've definitely found to be true during my last 10 years as a mom. 10 plus years now, wow. That's just weird to say because it doesn't seem like it's been 10 years and it has now. Sadie's 10 now. I still feel like saying my baby. Anyways, today I left a comment on one of my favorite vloggers' vlogs, and I said, I feel like for me that my hardest time as a mom was when we had one child, which doesn't make sense. A lot of people say 3 because 3 is the number where the parents become outnumbered officially, and that is a hard transition to make from being like one-on-one, man-on-man to like zone defense. I don't know. For Paul and I, we both always say that it was totally when we had one kid, it was the hardest, and that no other transition was as hard as going from 0 to 1. And I would say the first 18 months of Sadie's life were definitely like the roughest months of parenthood. I think it was just that transition also, it wasn't just the sleep deprivation, it was the transition from like no kids to having one kid and just learning everything. And before Sadie, I had never even changed a diaper. I mean, I wanted to be a mom, but it was still not an easy thing, just learning everything all at once, even though I was like, I bought every single book and every single magazine, and I knew I wanted to be a mom of a large family. But at the same time, I remember thinking like, how on earth can someone do this over and over again? Because it was so hard, and I was not sleeping at all. I was up every single hour, all night long, constantly, and she would like only sleep in my arms, and I would put her down, and she would wake up, and I kept trying to put her down, and she just would not sleep at all. I was exhausted all the time and covered in spit up all the time, and it was just not, it was hard. And we wanted a large family. And so when Maggie came along, I completely expected it to be exactly the same. And basically every child that has come after that, I have waited to have another baby like Sadie. I waited to have another child that was like going to be like that, and another toddlerhood that was going to be as hard as that. She started sleeping like immediately, just a few days before Maggie was born. She finally slept through the night and Maggie was born, and Maggie like was this perfect baby. She slept easily and was perfect from the day she was born pretty much. And I was like, babies can be like this. I think probably it also helped that like with the second and third and fourth babies, they would be in their bassinets, and we never did cry it out, but that there would probably be like a little bit of a delay. Like if they started to fuss, there would be a delay getting to them, because I would be, I could be changing a diaper or helping somebody else, and I couldn't necessarily get over there right away. And so they might start to fuss, and because I couldn't get to them right away, they would fuss for a second and go back to sleep. Whereas with Sadie, they would fuss, she would fuss, and I would be there in, a heartbeat. And so she never really learned to self-soothe. Whereas the later kids, I think, learned to self-soothe a lot more effectively. That made parenting a lot easier. And I didn't even really realize it was happening. But I think that happens just naturally with later kids, because it wasn't something that I consciously did. But then I was reading a book and I was like, oh my goodness, that totally happened with our other kids. And it happened not because it was something that I did intentionally or something that I can take credit for at all. It just happened. I couldn't just stop changing a diaper because the baby was just starting to wake up or whimper. And so there would be like 2 minutes of like, starting to stir and make little sounds, and the baby would soothe itself back to sleep before it had woken all the way up. And that, I think, really, really did help. And then those times when they actually were upset and were starting to cry because they had an actual need, they would start to cry, and I would have gotten over there and gotten to them and met whatever the need was. But I think that was one difference with the later kids that made them easier babies and toddlers than the other kids. And then the other big thing that is big was that they did have each other to play with. That the first kid was, you know, Sadie was with me all the time, and I was playing with her all the time, and I had all her attention all the time, she had all my attention all the time. And then once it was her and Maggie, they were both sensory seeking kids, so they were both like holding hands and spinning around the room together, and they were super, super, super wild. But they were always playing together, and then Patch was thrown into the mix, and the three of them were always playing together. Once we had 2 kids, and then 3 kids, and then 4 kids, and 5 kids, I was definitely not like the cool one to play with anymore. So then it was like, mom, look at me, mom, 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 mom. But I definitely was like more like their audience, and being the audience was way easier than being like the horse, or like, I don't know, than being the one that's down there as much. At least as much as you are like when it's one-on-one and you're expected to be like carrying the game with the toddler. This isn't meant to be any long thing, or I don't know. It's just meant to say that for you moms of like 1 kid, I totally see you and understand, and in my opinion, it is like the hardest job. In my opinion, as a mom of 5 who remembers looking back, I think it is absolutely the hardest job. This is coming from a mom. If this isn't like if you're not a regular here, I'm a mom of 5. I have 2 children with autism. The hardest time in my parenting journey so far is still that time when I was a mom with 1 toddler, not one of my 2 girls with autism. It was my kid with ADHD, but still. Her babyhood and toddlerhood absolutely was, by her being by herself was still just, and being a new mom was still brand new mom was still just the roughest time for me. Hang in there if you're a brand new mom. It does get easier. You start to get more sleep, hopefully. I hope you get more sleep. I started to get more sleep. I get more sleep now with 5 kids, even when they're babies, than I got when I had 1 kid. Just kind of, I think you learn hacks. Anyhow, for you new moms out there, it does get easier. It does get better. You do get more sleep. Hang in there. And hit subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you guys tomorrow.